Every morning, the say rhythm, the quiet assurance of his touch.
I never thought I'd be the kind of person who doubts their own marriage. For years, I trusted my wife, Emily, without a second thought. We had our routines, our inside jokes, and this quiet, comfortable stability. But then something started to feel off. She began taking phone calls in other rooms, her laughter sounding different, lighter, almost like it didn't belong to our life together. When I asked her if something was wrong, she just smiled and told me I was imagining things. I really wanted to believe her. One evening, she mentioned a friend was coming over while I worked late. That wasn't unusual, but this deep sense of unease just wouldn't go away. I hated myself for feeling so suspicious. After weeks of battling my own thoughts, I did something I never imagined I'd do. I placed a small recorder in our bedroom, telling myself it was just for a little while, just to put my mind at ease. I tried to convince myself I was protecting my sanity, not invading her privacy. That night at work, I couldn't focus on anything. My hands were shaking as I drove home. I sat in the car, parked in the driveway, and played the recording. At first there was just silence. Then I heard her voice. She was laughing, sounding more relaxed than I'd heard her in months. And then another voice answered, a man's voice, unfamiliar and confident. My chest tightened as their conversation went on. They were talking about me like I wasn't even real. She was joking about my routines, my predictability, even my trust in her. Hearing her mock me, that hurt more than any anger ever could. I shut the recorder off before it went any further. I sat in the car for a long time, just staring at nothing. When I finally walked inside, the house was quiet. She greeted me with a smile, acting like everything was perfectly normal. I asked her casually how her evening went. She said it was boring, that nothing much happened. That lie just hung in the air between us, feeling like a third person in the room. That night I slept on the very edge of the bed, making sure we didn't touch. The next morning, she noticed the distance. She asked if I was upset about something. I looked at her and said, I just need some honesty, Emily. She insisted she had nothing to confess. That was the moment I knew. She wasn't going to tell me the truth on her own. After dinner, I asked her to sit down. My voice was calm, even though my heart was pounding. I told her I know. She laughed nervously and asked what I meant. I placed the small recorder on the table between us. The color instantly drained from her face. Her first question wasn't, "What did you hear?" but, "How long have you been spying on me?" I just said, "Long enough." She broke down crying, saying it wasn't serious. I asked her, "Why does betrayal always feel casual to the person doing it?" She said she felt invisible in our marriage. I told her feeling invisible doesn't give you a license to be cruel. She admitted it had been going on for months. At first, she swore it was just emotional, but then admitted it wasn't only that. I didn't call her names. I simply told her that our trust was broken beyond repair. She begged for another chance, pleaded with me to stay. I asked her one question. Why didn't you fight this hard for us before you got caught? She had no answer. That night I slept on the couch. In the days that followed, we spoke carefully, like strangers navigating a fragile truce. She apologized constantly but avoided any real details. I had to tell her that the details mattered. We tried counseling, but the honesty came far too late. I started to realize I was grieving for a person who didn't exist anymore, for a marriage that was already gone. Eventually, I asked for space and she moved out quietly. Some even tried to make excuses for her. I just stopped listening to the excuses. Healing wasn't fast. Some nights I'd replay that recording in my head. Other nights, I'd force myself to remember that I deserved respect. Months later, she called and asked if we could try again. I told her that real love needs to feel safe, and I couldn't live in fear anymore. Letting go hurt, but it hurt a lot less than staying broken. I learned that trust, once it's completely shattered, doesn't always come back. But self-respect can. And for me, that was the beginning of finally healing. Thanks for listening. If this story resonated with you, consider subscribing for more.